Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Horse Geeks podcast, where we look at horses and riding from the inside out. I'm Kirsten Nelsen, professional horse trainer, professional horse educator, and with me is my co-host, Deborah Romero, certified Alexander Technique instructor. So today's topic is about time. I still don't know the title for it, but we wanted to talk about time because we were just discussing how you and I have completely opposite relationships with
Opposite,
time.
opposite. Yes, you're so frustrating sometimes.
So are you. You're like TikTok,
I'm not TikTok,
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 let's go,
TikTok.
let's go.
So
It's
funny.
frustrating. I think our personal relationship with time does frustrate other people,
Good point.
right? And but we all have our own natural rhythm
Mhm.
to how we play with time or how we spend our time or the time we take
The time it
or
takes.
yeah,
All that
or
language around time. I never thought of that.
there's
That's a
a
big
lot
one.
of language around time, which
I don't
according,
have enough time. How about that? Or I
well,
only have so much.
and
Oh,
what always blows my mind is physics, especially modern physics, really says everything exists simultaneously, so there is no time. Time is a human
it's a
construct,
man-made concept, I imagine.
and what it helps us
Hmm.
do is negotiate reality. Like that's what time helps us do is move through reality sequentially rather than being overwhelmed by apparently the fact that everything exists simultaneously. And I like this is where I love geeking out because I go science to me is so interesting, not because I like the math or can even easily
Hmm.
wrap my head around some of
Hmm.
these concepts and discoveries,
Hmm.
but because science sort of helps explain what already is. And that change of perception can kind of change everything.
And that's interesting. I was just watching a Jeremy Chance, who is a master Alexander teacher, about the same thing about our what is our reality. We create our own reality
Right.
around
And
time and what that
quantum,
means.
well, quantum physics basically says our consciousness is what's creating our reality. And so our perception of time is part of that consciousness that reality reflects back to us, which I just go, how is that possible? This table feels rock solid, right? I
But that's a
go,
perception. That's
I know
I
it's
know,
just
it's freaking me
mind
out.
blowing.
It was like the whole this whole conversation started with my day, which I had, I'm super time oriented and do
Yes.
blocks of time. And I started with A, and which was weed whacking, and the weed whacker broke. Then I got a text from you saying we need to push the podcast to another time. And so my normal habit is to like totally lose it over that.
I know. That's and
And I
we're
went,
friends anyways.
I know, right? And I went, wait a minute, Deb, come on. And I thought, okay, just move things around. Why don't you just go work a horse? And then, of course, my reality was my goal when I started was I was going to ride, I was going to do all this. Well, I didn't have enough time for that. So I just long lined, which was fine.
Yes. Yes.
The horse did great. I did great. I only had 30 minutes and that was fine.
And in the 30 minutes, your focus and attention, like to me, the quality is more
Hmm.
important than almost anything else.
I agree.
So I
I think
go,
that's where we agree.
yeah,
Quality is better than quantity with anything. With it, I mean, that's what my work's all about is quality of use.
right, which is not
Right.
something that can be achieved when we're putting time constraints on ourselves
Exactly.
because it becomes a stress trigger if we're too attached to our list of things to do and the time it's going to take and what we're going to do in what order. And
Then
then the weed whacker breaks.
the
And you
weed
go,
whacker breaks.
now what do I do, you stupid weed whacker?
Messed up my time schedule.
Right.
Crap.
And in training, that happens all the time because a lot of people with, and I think I used to have the same relationship with time. It was like I got a list of things to do, I
Mhm.
got goals to accomplish, and so frustrating when the horse wasn't cooperating with my agenda.
Right.
Like hard to catch, suddenly really frustrating because in your mind you're like tick
That's
tock, I've
so
only
funny.
got an hour.
That's so funny because I think I sent you that little abstract on, and maybe someday we'll share it. It just came out. Rajal shared it about human emotions and how they affect the horse.
Oh, yes,
I
we'll
just sent it
definitely
to
do
you, so
that
you
one.
probably
Yeah,
haven't looked at it,
I
but
want to
it was
read
so
it.
funny because I was like, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to catch Milo, and this is what we're going to do. And of course, he went, screw you with that.
I'm going to go to the farthest
Off
corner of
he
the
goes, and
pasture.
Finer Things looked at me like, yeah, that's not going to work. And I went, okay, Deb, the lesson is just be present. If the lesson today is about catching, the lesson today is about catching. So
Right.
I've
And
already had a complete mind helmet fire before noon, you know?
I know. It's like I'm already all wound up and it's only 10 a.m.
My ADHD comes out.
Well,
But
and that's
yeah.
exactly like I think I went through a process that was so interesting because my schedule is, especially having horses at your property, taking care of different things. The horses are unpredictable, nature's unpredictable, my
Hmm.
tools are unpredictable. So it's like my schedule is unpredictable a lot. I don't
It's
have a 9 to 5 job. I work by appointments and I fit in
right.
horse training and it depends on weather and everything else what I do. And so it's like working with what I can do every day started to help me organize my time rather than saying I have this much time and this is what I'm going to fit into it.
Hmm.
I would go, what do I need to fit into my day and how much time can I spend doing the things that are important, right? So
Right.
I go, there's certain functional things like feeding horses has to be done every day. Can't get around it. Cleaning up poop, can't get around it, right? So, and it's going to maybe take a certain amount of time, no matter how stressed or relaxed we happen to be. There's just,
Right.
there's
And
just that
uh,
amount of time it's going to take. So,
and there's a great teacher, Alexander master teacher Daria, and she would always say, when you go to teach, always have a goal in mind, but always be led by the student.
yes. Yeah. So
So,
if the horse is suddenly hard to catch, I might have to suddenly change my training agenda
mhm,
to bonding, building trust, establishing a relationship with that horse. It's just a
right,
change in the focus of training rather than working on, I don't know, I was going to do trot transitions that day,
right.
right? And the horse is like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I got that today. Boy, it was a total flip of the switch though. I didn't get it. I totally went, okay, that energy's not helping. Change it
Right.
up. And then within 1 minute, he came up to me. So just that whole
So interesting.
arriving at the barn, especially if I would think, I'm just guessing, but if you're in a boarding situation and oh, I'm going to get to the barn by such and such time and get blank, blank, blank accomplished today.
Yeah.
And it's great to have those goals, but the horse might have a completely different agenda that day.
Yes. And I think like emotions and like dealing with our own emotions, like you were saying, which can affect the horse. I go, sometimes that takes time.
Yeah.
Sometimes just calming ourselves down can be a big chunk of a training session with a horse,
Mhm. And
or
yeah, I'm so
helping the horse
grateful.
calm down.
Yeah, that
Like,
I have the Alexander work, and we teach the pause and inhibit that process,
yeah,
just to just interrupt it. Just
yeah,
there's no right answer. It's just interrupt it.
yeah. If you interrupt it, you can shift from reacting to
Hmm.
responding. And
Exactly.
like you just like in that moment of pause, you're like, what can I do with the time I have?
Yes,
And you figured out something in 1 minute that is still moving you and Milo the direction you want to go.
exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I had planned, but it was enough.
Yeah, and I talked about this at one of our group meetings in the online group, and it was sort of like not having a regular schedule, not having a
Hmm.
normal job, right? I go, how do I, like at first I thought, how do I make a schedule that I can stick to? Well, that went out the window in like a day, right? And I went, how do I make a schedule for a week that allows me to have downtime, have work time, move towards my
Good point.
goals, deal with the unpredictable?
Mhm.
And that went out the window. Because I'm like, it just completely didn't work. So
That's
then
funny.
I really gave it a lot of thought, like weeks or months. I just kept thinking, what's important to me? Like, what's important to me regarding my relationship with my horse, the development of horses, especially client horses, what's relationship, what's important to me as far as just making enough money to feed myself and pay my bills, and
Mhm.
how do I grow in the directions I personally want to grow? And what ended up coming out of it was categories rather than schedules.
That's real interesting you brought that up. I took a course from an actual student of mine about doing that exact thing. He called it things to put on the front burner and things to put on the back burner.
Yeah. And when I
Yes,
really, really thought about it, it was pretty simple because I lead a simple life. I'm not a complicated person. I don't have enormous, competitive aspirations. Well, even, I mean, we all have our aspirations
I think
and
so.
they're important to us. So once I decided what was important to me, I created like four really general categories
Yeah,
that balance my life in a way that makes me happy, makes me feel fulfilled. And then I went, okay, I've got these four categories, and some days I made an agreement with myself to spend at least 10 or 15 minutes in every category every day as a
I
minimum.
like that. I like that about you. Instead of my concept, which is get it all done.
Well, I was doing that and it was
And it's
just
exhausting.
killing me.
It's
Yeah,
exhausting.
I always have a list on a clipboard and it's like the more I can cross off that
I know it
list, the
feels so
better.
good. It
It
feels
does
so
feel good.
good.
But when I started shifting into categories, I went, really, there's kind of four categories that are important to me related to horses and my business contributing to the horse world, right? So doing
Mhm.
things that contribute to other people and horses, feeding myself or paying my bills, and just the pleasure of working with horses. Like that's something a lot of
Right.
horse trainers lose
I think so.
and can burn out. And I go, I really don't want to burn out on that. That's a big passion of mine. So my relationship with my own horses or the horses that live at my farm, I go, that's another category, right? And then I found a category, gardening, taking care of my property, fixing things on my property, like being surrounded by all the beauty nature provides on my
Right.
farm.
And actually being able to enjoy it and not consider it a chore.
Right. And so
There's a huge thing because we both own our own places.
right, which you can be overwhelmed by the amount of work
Hmm.
and lack of perfection that is always there.
It's everywhere. Like, yeah.
Or you can see it like the development of a horse as an ever evolving,
Hmm.
changing kind of organic system, right?
I remember the first conversation with my new neighbor across the street. She's retired lawyer, and I think she had been here 2 or 3 weeks, and it was her first time having her horses on her own property. And she called me and she says, I want to know how you keep your house and your barn clean at the same time. I said, that doesn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about.
Have you not met a horsewoman?
Yeah, right. I
I go,
said,
it's one
you
or the
better
other.
hire a cleaning lady. That's what I told her. You want both.
Yes. Or eliminate clutter in your house and live simply. Like
Very simple.
that has been my motto is how many things can I not own so that it's easier to clean those shelves and everything else,
Don't need
right?
little trinkets everywhere.
Right.
Or trinkets, think about it, trinkets in your mind too. All of the things. And I think that's why I'm so attracted and addicted to horses because all of that goes away
It does go
when I'm
away.
when I'm working horses. I mean, if you're not present with them at that moment, that's when I get hurt.
Yeah,
If
things go
I'm
sideways.
things
Yeah.
go sideways. So it is like everything tunes out when I'm working horses. And I love that. I love that relationship.
I do too. And that's what I found by sort of like the whole gardening element of managing my farm. I love gardening, whether it's food gardening or flower gardening or
Hmm.
plant landscaping. It's enjoyable to me and it has nothing to do with my business or it's for no purpose other than pure enjoyment.
Right.
And so I added that as a category because it's really for pure enjoyment. And I went, that's an important part of balancing our lives. What do we do
Right.
for just because otherwise it's like we live a miserable life and get 2 weeks of vacation and then try to pack all of our enjoyment into 2 weeks. And I go, I don't think that's a very good use of my time.
Or thought,
Right. And
or
now
the
they
way
have
we
them,
use.
they have a name for what I love called a staycation. And I go, I have always loved staycations because if
Mhm.
I pay for a hotel room, I'm usually just going to sleep through the weekend
I know,
anyways.
right? That's true. If I go, that's so funny because when my family wants to go on a vacation, they want to go and do things. I just want to sleep,
And read a book. Yeah.
read a book,
I know.
be on the beach, read a book, get a tan. I'm
Yeah, because
good.
we're active all the
We're
time.
outside all the time.
So the counterbalance is rest.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny.
And it's like at the beach, I want an umbrella because I live in the sun in Florida
All
all
the
the
time.
time.
Yeah, let's go do an outside activity. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Yeah. No, the counterbalance is get inside the air conditioning and lay on the
Yeah,
couch,
lay on the
right?
couch and watch a movie or read a book.
Yeah.
Golly, but
So these
yeah,
coming up with these categories and going, okay, if I'm scheduling time, I go a minimum of 15 minutes in each of the categories every day. I felt helped me balance my life. So
it
I had
balance your psyche. I mean,
well, and
yeah,
that was the effect of it
yeah.
was I actually got more things crossed off the list without feeling stressed or hurried
Hmm.
or pressure.
Right.
Because I go, even like my first experiment with these categories of where I spend my time, because we all only have so much time
We
in a
all have the same
day.
amount of time in a day.
And we have no idea how much time we have on the planet. So I go, we may
Exactly.
as well enjoy it, right? And the way I was managing my time, like you, I go, there's not a lot of enjoyment
There's
in that.
hardly any joy there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went, if I think in categories and I keep it in balance, like some days I spend most of my day in one category but I'm going to spend 15 minutes in three other categories. So I go, that's less
Mhm.
than an hour of my whole day to spend in one of the other categories, right? And if I'm tired, I slow down the activity. And if I'm full of energy, I might get more done in each
Right.
category each day. So I can kind of balance my energy throughout the day a lot better too.
Yeah.
And then
And not
it's
not
like,
getting the hamster on the wheel in thinking, I think is real important, is to stay present in the activity, not no matter what it is.
yeah. And the way I was approaching all of the things that always have to be done, right?
Right.
They always have to be done anyways. But I found getting up early, feeding the horses early, cleaning the stalls, doing what I had to do for the horses, it kept reminding me as being one of my core categories that this is such a blessing. This is
It
what I
is.
want to do, right? Because the physical exertion it takes can make us feel like, oh, I have to go clean the
I have
stalls
to go
again.
muck.
Yeah, yeah.
I get
And
my best thinking done when I'm mucking.
well, that was the other thing. I
Yeah.
go, if I made it quiet time during the day, or if I listened to a podcast, right? If I listened to something inspirational on my phone while I'm mucking the stalls, it just changed that time I was spending from uncomfortable to comfortable. I
Instead of it
started,
being a task, it can be a joy.
right, and I started to
Hmm.
go, how am I lifting these heavy buckets? How am I using my body while I'm mucking? How am I sweeping with the broom? Right? So my physical use, I can keep working on balancing my coordination even in those simple tasks. Or, I mean, gardening we always think of as flowered gloves and a straw hat and a little tiny basket. I go, gardening at my place means moving heavy loads of compost and manure,
Hmm.
cutting branches and like doing heavy lifting, digging holes. And so
Right.
one of the first things I did when I started to play with categories is I had this project at my place where I basically had to dig a ditch to plant. I wanted like a wall of green plants to sort of screen my property off from looking at the busy road or the neighbors. But I go to do that, I'm going to need a ditch because it was all sand. Like you couldn't plant anything in it. It was just pure sand about 3 feet deep before you hit any clay or any kind of soil. So I'm like, okay, I need to dig the sand out and make a ditch that's about 3 feet deep. It's only going to be about 2 feet wide, but it was 400 feet long.
Wow.
Yeah. And I got a shovel and a body. And I went, I had put the project off for years, even though it would have really enhanced the view out of my windows, right? I kept putting it off and I would plant stuff here and there, but it wouldn't really take, right?
Mm.
So, or the horses would eat it. And so I figured out what plants the horses wouldn't eat that would grow up and provide shade and kind of a visual barrier. And so I just put that in the category of taking care of my property. And I went out 15 minutes every day I had and dug. And at first, I was like checking my watch every 2 minutes. Is it 15 minutes yet? Is it, because it was hard.
It's
It sucked. It wasn't easy, right? And it was like
tough.
15 minutes felt like an hour for like the first week of that. And then all of a sudden, time started moving faster. Like I was digging 15 minutes in a minute, is what it felt like. And by the time I got to the very end, which I did, I think it took me a couple of months to dig the whole ditch, like
Mhm.
15 minutes a day, and fill it with compost. And by the time I was done, I was like, 15 minutes of digging is nothing. Like that is nothing. So I got
Yeah.
myself more fit. I was conscious about how I was using my body. I learned from you while shoveling, use your legs more than your arms. I was conscious of my, you know, torso balance while I'm digging this hole because I went, it's only 15 minutes.
And that's great. And that's what, when I'm working with people, I say pick a place to practice. You can't think about doing the work all day long. Just
Right.
take,
But
like for me, it's walking from the house to the barn. I probably do that 10 times a day. It only takes me a minute or two, but in that time, I can check in. How am I doing? And all that. It doesn't
right.
have to be a big block of time like we sometimes think we have to, meditate for an hour or whatever. Sometimes when you're starting, it's like you said, for a minute, you're looking at your watch like,
Your
geez, Louise,
15 minutes just stretches on forever,
ever.
right?
But then, it's kind of like our habits and undoing them. It's, when you start to wake up to all of the habits that you have, it's overwhelming.
Yeah,
Yeah, but then you get to a point you're more adaptable and you're like, "Oh yeah, there it is again. What can I do about it?"
exactly.
Yeah.
I also found in 15 minutes, I can get a lot done. Like if I'm focused and not distracted or overwhelmed or stressed.
Or thinking about the next thing that has to be done if I'm actually present in that
Yeah, so
in
even
that
like
practice.
sweeping the floor or vacuuming or getting the dishes done, or it's like if I give it a concentrated amount of time and I just focus on getting 15 minutes worth of work done in that category, it's like I'm constantly surprised at how much I get done. And if
Wow.
I need to concentrate my focus, I go, I can only do that for, I don't know, an hour, maybe 2 or 3 hours at the most on big projects. And if they're not physically demanding, it's still mentally tiring.
Right.
So I go, okay, I'll give this one an hour and then I'll go do something else. And that's also helped me find how to use time to balance mental work with physical work. So I'm not really doing too much of one or the other at the expense of challenging my mind and my ability to focus
Right.
or taxing my body too much.
Yeah.
So I go because the work can become either all mental when we work in an office, right?
Hmm.
Or all physical if we have outdoor jobs.
Right.
And kind of finding that balance between mental stimulation and physical exercise, I think is also important when we're thinking of categories of what makes us happy.
Right. And I would like to think everybody is riding or being around horses because it makes them happy.
Well, that's a part we forget when we
I
have an
think so.
agenda and a
And when
time
I have my
frame.
time agenda banging at my head, it's no fun.
Yeah. No, and when I've done clinics in your area, you're the one that gives me the hook and sort of says, okay, time's up, lesson's over, because I'll get very involved with the
Mhm.
student and the horse, and I will lose track of time. I
Yeah,
go
that's a good point.
because I'm involved, and I don't even have like a new watch. I go, I have my old regular digital watch. And I go, I do have to watch my time because I can get carried away in any one of those four categories at the expense of another. So
That's a good point.
I actually have learned to manage my time better because I go, okay, I have this much time for this category today, which means I have less time in another category for something else, but I'm not gonna, even if I don't feel like quitting, I'm going to stop.
That that's the
That took a
key.
lot of
That
discipline.
takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah, that took an
Yeah, that
amazing
for
amount
me
of,
is something I really need to settle into because I'm a get it done.
yeah. And I go,
Yeah,
even if I
and
have an
it's
intense,
exhausting.
well, even like the ditch, I go, all the written learning materials I'm working on, these are really big, overwhelming projects. And I go, so certain days of the week, I go, that's my focus for 2 or 3 hours. And then I stop. And I go, it keeps
Makes sense.
it drags the end out longer than I want. Like
I imagine.
I'm not finishing what I want to finish in the time I wanted to finish it, which still feels frustrating. But
I
every
think
time I
that's
go back to that mental focus of writing, I go, I see it differently. I have better ideas. I
I
have
agree
another
with
way of
that.
saying that.
Yeah.
I'm editing out all the gobbledygook that just is distracting. And so it's like taking that break, forcing myself to take a break as much as I want to finish that project. I go taking those breaks and making sure I'm balancing in the other categories that are important to
Right.
me has actually improved. Like I can even see the difference from some of the early written material I did where I'm like, get it done, get it done, get it out, right? Get it done. And now I reread it and I'm like, oh my God, that just sounds stressed out, right?
Mm,
Instead of really conveying what I want to convey.
right.
And as I started playing with, and this has been at least like a 5 year process playing with
Right.
this, right? Which again, what else am I going to do with my time?
Well, I think we started this whole thing like with the podcast. It was COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how, because I used to fly down there once a month to teach, and that had to stop. So
yeah. And I used to fly
we
up to your
reinvented
area and
this
do clinics.
clinics once a month. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we actually spent time together twice a month.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and this is a different way to spend time together, but it's because we value each other
Right.
and value sharing ideas together. And it feels good. I go, I mean, I haven't looked lately, but I don't think we're doing this podcast for the money or the ratings.
The
I
money?
go, I
What?
don't think there is any money.
Okay.
I think there's commercials running now through the podcast on the
Oh,
podcast platforms, but I haven't seen what that means. And until, I don't know, episode 150 or something, I don't even think there were commercials.
wow.
So I know podcasters make money. I just don't really understand how. I'm still figuring that out. But what's important to me is spending time right now producing written material and
Right.
courses to contribute to the horse world. And I go, that's what keeps me going. Whether it's the podcast or the written material or putting videos up on YouTube, sharing what I've learned
Hmm.
and feeling like I'm contributing to something bigger feels really good. So it
I think that's
constantly,
that time thing, like you can get so boggled down in the day-to-day of it all.
hmm
But like you said, if you set up these categories, making sure that you're balancing yourself. And there are
yeah,
going to be some days kind of like, my husband had to have emergency surgery a month ago, so
right,
he can't do any farm work.
right.
So of course that changed
Everything
everything
you had to do.
I had to do and actually learning to ask for help, when there's just no way I can keep up with this place by myself.
Yeah.
Lesson learned, but being able to be adaptable with your time, like I did today with Milo. It's like, okay, Milo, I got 30 minutes here. Let's make the best of the 30 minutes we've got long lining. And
Yeah, because I don't do anything different, but my experience feels different.
there you go.
And because I go, I still work horses, give lessons, do clinics, drive around, go shopping, clean the house, pay the
We're
bills.
still doing all
It's,
the
I'm
same things.
still
It's the
doing,
relationship with that you've changed.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm working on it.
it's very encouraging. It's self-rewarding when you
Mm,
feel more ease or happiness or even less stress. I go, so why
right.
am I bringing things into my reality
Wow.
that are creating that stressful feeling? Could I either change how I look at it?
Hmm.
Could I reorganize where I'm spending my time and attention or how? Or could I just maybe look at it differently
Look at it
and see
differently.
how
And
I
it's
feel
kind of
about
like
it?
the relationship with your horse.
Absolutely.
Could you look at it differently? Like I did with Milo today. My whole way of presenting myself to him was a total turnoff.
Yeah, or in my early years of being working as a professional horse trainer, there's a lot of pressure to sort of show your horse is
Mm,
perfect. And people would ask, "Can I come ride your horse assuming it's perfect?" And I go, "My horses are like they're a work in progress." Right? But there was
that's
all
true.
this pressure to make them perform flawlessly as a
Wow.
reflection of me.
Of your work.
And the horses
Yeah.
quashed that deal right away.
They pick up on that. Check that box there, girl.
They were like, that is not going to fly. As
That's not
soon as
happening.
anybody's watching, we're going to do the opposite of everything we know how to do.
Yeah.
Right. And
That's too funny.
it was like until I was humble about it and focused on the actual relationship with my horse, it was like the good performance was sort of the side effect of being
Yes.
interested in what my horse needed from me and
Totally
what
present.
that
Yeah.
relationship meant. And then horses' bodies, I go, that's where time stops. I go,
Same with people.
there is no way
There's no
you're
way to put
gonna
your evolution of being on a
coordination.
yeah, on a
Yeah.
time scale.
Yeah. I go changing coordination. It's like time is the one thing, it's the one part of altering coordination that there's just no way to estimate. I go, some things may happen in an instant, and other things may take months of repetitive
Mhm.
practice. I go, there's just no way, like emotions, there's sort of no way to know when they're going to change.
Mm-mm. Nope, it's going through the layers.
Yeah. And I go, physical bodies are kind of the same way. And if we
Mhm.
don't pay attention or we're not mindful of our coordination, then that becomes part of a stress
The
response.
body speaks.
Yeah, you pay the price.
The body says hello.
Hello, don't forget about me. I'm starting
No,
to become
yep,
painful.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I,
sore, I'm tired, I'm uncomfortable, I'm painful. And actually, I was listening to, I think it was a Zen monk or something, and on like a podcast on YouTube. And he was saying, I thought this was brilliant, that there's a saying that goes, when when you are healthy, you have many problems. When you are unhealthy, you have only one problem.
Mhm.
And I thought
That's brilliant.
that was very deep. I go, as soon
It's
as
very geeky.
you're very geeky, because as soon as we are unhealthy, all of those important things we had on our
It's,
list
yeah,
are just not important
it
or
doesn't
not
matter.
doable, like your husband. I go, can't,
Right.
can't do them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
He just can't do them right now because his one problem is his health.
exactly.
Yeah. And I think horses are kind of the same way when they have ill health or discomfort or pain while they're doing the job they're doing for us. That is their singular problem.
Well, that's, I would imagine, I don't know with horses, but with people, and we're going to get into it in a future podcast about the psychology of pain. And there's
Mm,
Western medicine, we are they are taught that if there's pain, there has to be something physical, like
causing it.
an X-ray with something on it, or an MRI that says, "Oh yeah, that."
Yeah, there was a research paper I read a couple years ago, and the thing that jumped out at me, I have to see if I can find it
Yeah,
but it was pathology does not necessarily create pain. And
exactly.
that is the Western belief is that there's a
Mhm.
pathology creating pain.
Yeah, and all these poor people that have had, like fibro or fibromyalgia and have been considered crazy because they say they're in pain, but they can't put
They
it's
can't find any pathology.
not on an image. There's no pathology
Right,
um, around it that is visual.
right.
So we'll get into that in another podcast.
Yeah, and that is, I think, just like as we're going through our day-to-day motions, slowing things down and consciously choosing that activity as a part of your life that's important to you. It's like that reduction of stress can also help with pain issues. Like we suddenly become more aware of what type of movement or what activities are
Mhm.
causing the pain. And like pain and fear are interesting because they're such deep instinctual responses that,
Instinctual is big.
yeah, it goes through the whole peripheral nervous system. It's not just in the brain. And that response trains the brain to keep avoiding anything that would trigger fear or pain. And
Yeah, it's amazing.
so we
That
generalize it,
Mhm.
and that generalization of it is what sort of makes it feel absolutely overwhelming
And
and
time consuming
and debilitating.
and
Yeah.
mind consuming
Yeah.
is
So like even farm repairs or mowing or weed whacking or hauling manure around, I was like, I could do all of those same things feeling short on time, too many things to do, not enough time.
Mhm.
And that would just keep triggering more and more stress
More stress response. Throw that cortisol through the roof.
inside my body. So I go, why am I
Ah.
doing that to myself? I go, I chose this lifestyle
Mhm.
and I go, it's what I wanted. So why am I letting it hurt me?
Why am I? Yeah,
Why am I not enjoying it instead? Because it just depends more on our perception than anything
totally.
else. Whether we're stressed out or joyful has more to do with our perception of what we
It's our
do
thinking.
than what we actually do.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in our thought.
And then I think that perception changes how we coordinate movement during those tasks,
Oh yeah,
whether,
I
what
was
we
just
think about,
I mean the pull down if of stress, of the actual physical pull down. That's the thing I was watching with Jeremy Chance about our thoughts about what we're thinking can pull us down and contract us.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and time is a funny thing to think about because I think time, which is an imaginary idea made out of nothingness, can trigger all different types of responses. Like it's just so interesting how time affects our emotional experience
Yes.
and how our perception of time, how it influences our physical well-being.
Yes.
Yeah. And that shift into categories and away from schedules and even lists of
Mhm.
things to do was huge for me.
Yeah, I like that. It's kind of like Andy Hickman, who I worked with for a year on it. He does put stuff on the front burners, the priorities, and then you've got like back burner stuff like I need to have this done within a month. It's not today,
Right?
but maybe I can put it on my schedule Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 15 minutes, so that by the end of that month, like you're ditch digging, it's accomplished.
Yeah, and it's a little different in that if I put the task in a category, first of all, I'm deciding, is that task really going to benefit me in my life? Number
Right.
one.
Do I even need that in my life?
Right.
Yeah.
If it's going to benefit me in some way, then it belongs in one of my core categories.
Okay.
And I go, that means I'm going to spend at least 15 minutes on it every day, unless I'm
Right.
sick.
And then everything comes to
And
a
then
halt.
everything stops. But I go, that's kind of how I've started filtering also decisions about what I'm doing in my life. Like, if that doesn't fit into one of my balanced core categories, do I really want to do it? Is it important to me?
That's a good point. We
Right?
can definitely, as horse owners and riders, can overcommit.
Yeah, or I think even as women, we're so used to taking care of everybody else's needs first that we kind of lose touch with what is actually important to us as individuals,
Right,
right? Because a lot of our time is taken up either caring for or doing something for somebody else, whether horses, cats, dogs, children,
right.
people, husbands, whatever, right?
Stuff.
And so I think by going, okay, that item that used to just get automatically added to my to-do list, I have a minute, I take a minute to ponder it and go,
Hmm.
does it fit into my life if I do this? Does it
Right,
does it help me have more contentment, happiness? Is it important to me in some way? And if so, what's important about it? Is it important for joy? Is it important for paying the bills? Is it important
right,
for relationships with animals, family, other people? Right.
right,
So that was an interesting way to play with time because it started to filter what I was really putting my energy into.
right. And sometimes we get so caught up in it, we don't take the time to do that.
No, somebody says, "Can you do this?" And I used to just automatically say
Yeah,
yes.
sure.
And now I go, could I fit that in and all four categories? Right?
Yeah,
Or is doing that, which is maybe going to take away from my other categories, is it important because that person is in this category or it's
that's
important
a good one.
for this category?
Hmm.
So it just kind of helped me keep moving in the direction of things that gave me joy and fulfillment and a sense of accomplishment.
Right.
Not that I'm perfect at it, but it was just a big, and it came
I like it.
from,
It's much better than what I was doing. So I will apply that. But
well,
I
and
always
I've,
think of your 15-minute rule. That is so helpful to me to go, Deb, you only need to put 15 minutes into this right now.
yeah. And even if it starts with 5 minutes, it's like 5 minutes is better than zero
And there's
minutes.
something about how that feeds your psyche. It's kind of like doing constructive rest or meditating. Even if there's something about giving permission to take
Yes.
care of yourself that your psyche really needs.
Yeah. And my energy level increased dramatically the more I was doing things in the category that fed me,
Right,
right? Those things are feeding me, renewing my energy, where sometimes doing the same things was depleting my energy, or doing things that aren't really in those categories was depleting me.
right.
And it was like, instead of, I used to really, what's the word, perseverate over things going wrong. Like it would just really
Percolate.
stress me out.
Yep, that
And
would, I get that.
yeah, if things
I
weren't on
understand.
schedule or going my way or unexpected stuff came out, it was just a huge stress trigger. And I'm finding more and more when those things happen, I'm less anxious or less tense about it. Like my response is changing.
That's cool.
And and even like today I was running late and I'm like, oh, I forgot to send you the invite. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And I go, Kirsten, you have plenty of time. It's going to be
Just
perfect.
push the button.
Just get yourself together, get organized, take the time you need. And it just slowing down my mind, I still ended up being on time,
Yep.
miraculously. But I was like, when I was rushing and hurrying, it was like tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, that'll make you late.
That'll, and anxious.
Yeah. Yeah, because I would drop something, stumble over something, knock
Right,
something
because you're
over.
not present. You're
Right,
you're on the hamster on the wheel.
right,
Yeah.
right. All right. So I don't know what to call the title. I think time
What
and
is your relationship with time? I don't know.
that's a good one. That or time and enjoyment, time and happiness, happiness and time, something like that. Anyways, we'll decide.
Okay.
later. Thanks everybody for joining us. We better wrap it up. And definitely a geeky podcast. We didn't even much talk
No,
about
we just
horses,
showed
but
up. We just
showed
we're
up and gave it the time because
yep,
it's
we
important to
did.
us.
It is.
Yeah, and it makes me feel good every time we do a
Me
podcast.
too.
All right, so
All
hopefully
right.
it made you guys feel good too, or thank you for taking the time to listen to our podcast. We really appreciate it and hope it's helpful to you.
Yes. Thanks,
Yes.
everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.